Are you ready to combine your love of cats and mermaids into the cutest crochet project you'll make all year? Today, I am walking you step by step through creating your very own Purrmaid, whiskers, tail, and all. This is a pattern that I created and it's so fun. I love how cute she is. This is using Bernat Blanket, so it makes it a little bit more dense. I do have the PDF pattern for sale over on Etsy and on my website, so if you want to buy the PDF version of this, please head on over there. The link is down in the description. Let's get going. For this sweet little mercat, I used Bernat Blanket, super bulky size 6, vintage white for the body. And we're using, so this one, I did use one with sparkles. I think it was like a Bernat baby blanket with sparkles. So for this video today, I'm going to be using Bright Sage. And then for the accents, for the little bow and the nose, I'm going to be using some of the big twist baby bear that I have left over. It's crazy because it's also a size 6 super bulky and like such a difference between the two. But this, you can't get any more. Joann's is no longer, but I know Michael's is making their own version. But I do like this one a lot for those extra little accents there. When I work with Bernat Blanket, I prefer a size 6 hook because this works best with my stitches. I also tend to find that the shaft width usually is in line with the size of the yarn. So I'm going to go with a size 6 hook, and then I will be using a size 14 safety eye for this one. And of course, I'll need some sort of black acrylic yarn for those facial. When we begin, we're going to start with a magic circle or magic ring. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to walk you through it here, but I do have a full tutorial on my channel that I will link you to, and it goes really slowly with the magic circle. So I do mine a little bit differently. I don't wrap my fingers, so I just hold it into a little loop, and then I'm going to grab my yarn, pull through, chain 1. I'm going to do 8 single crochets in this magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I'm gonna find, I always have a hard time finding that first one. So I'm gonna go in and count. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is my 8th one. So I'm gonna go in. All right, so this next round we are increasing every stitch. So we're gonna end up with 16 at the end here. So 1, and add my stitch marker into that first one before I continue on. 1. So increasing is 2 single crochets in one spot. So 1. Increases. All right, so I realize my lighting is, because I'm filming at night right now, my lighting is not fantastic. So I'm going to do my best to show you it. The white is just really being blown out here, and I apologize for that. But basically what I'm doing is I'm increasing in each of my stitches here. Had great intentions of filming during the day today, and I've been doing a lot of other things. I'm currently trying to declutter our pantry. Been working on that. I found this great YouTube channel, was Cass at Clutterbug, and been pretty inspiring. So been working on that today. So I'm trying to get in some filming here at night, and I want to get at least one more Merkitty for my upcoming market. So I thought it was perfect time to show you how to do it. All right, so once we get our second row, now we're going to third row. And we need to go from 16 to 24. So we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase all the way around. So a single crochet and an increase all the way around. So, single crochet, mark your stitch, and continue on. Okay, and I'm just going to keep going around. So single and then an increase. The coloring is so bad, I apologize. So this Mermaid Cat pattern is one that I wrote and had pattern testers, and they did a fantastic job. This one is actually a really completed PDF version. You can find that on my Etsy or on my website. That is linked down below as well if you are someone who prefers to have that PDF version. Maybe for later, if you enjoyed making one Merkitty and you want to make more and don't want to watch the video all over again. Did increase, single, and an increase. And I was really fortunate to have some great testers, and so they caught all the little mistakes that would pop up in those patterns. At this point, we're going to do 4 rounds of 24. So right now we're going to be building out the head shape. So 4 rounds of 24. These are all just single crochet. So I was inspired to make this Mermaid Cat pattern because at the time my youngest daughter was really obsessed with Gabby's Dollhouse, and she loved to watch it. She loved to have the toys, and one of the characters she really likes is Merkitty, and she's very sparkly and fun. I didn't want to make Merkitty exactly like it is in the show. 1, it's copyrighted material, but 2, I wanted it to be, you know, something I could keep making and give to different people who might not like Gabby's Dollhouse or might not watch it, and also to be able to sell it at my markets, which so far they have done really well. I've made, I think, 5 Merkitties, and 4 of them I took to market and sold, but my original one, this one, I have kept for myself. I think she's so cute, and so I don't ever really want to get rid of her yet. She's sticking with me for a little while. Okay, that was the first round. Now we're on the second round. So I've been kind of taking a break from crocheting. I was this summer just needed something a little bit different. And so I got into diamond painting, and that was a lot of fun. I really do recommend it if you are enjoying crocheting, but you also want to mix it up. If you have ADHD like me and you need to have some novelty in your life, diamond painting is very similar to crochet in the sense that it is very meditative. So the nice thing about crochet is when you are stitching, you're just focused on those stitches as you go around and around and around. And especially if you're doing like a straight across blanket or something like that, you can kind of get lost in those stitches. And I found diamond painting to be very similar because you're just adding little dots. All right, at this point, I've done 2 rows. You can start to see that it's starting to form a little cup. Now, if yours started to form this way, we want to make sure that our tail is always in the cup. It's hard to see with this white and the coloring of tonight, but this kind of, well, you can kind of see it's a little bit bumpier. The stitches come together in a different, more clustery way, whereas this side just looks very clean and organized. So this will be your outside. So that was the 2nd round. So now we're going for the 3rd round. These are just single crochets all the way around. But I have been picking up crochet again, just randomly when I go places. It's my favorite thing to have when I'm in a waiting room, so my neck isn't just always in a downward looking at my phone position. Even though when you're crocheting, your neck is kind of in a downward position. But I don't know. There's just something about doing this versus just scrolling through Instagram. We've had a lot of doctor's appointments, we're cramming in all the doctors, dentist, orthodontist, eye doctors, all the things. And so I've gotten to get some crochet in. All right, so I've gotten done with row 3. We're almost there. We're going to get this last one at row 4, or it's not technically row 4. It is row 14, but it's my 4th row in this round. Finish that up. But yeah, so I have been crocheting. I've managed to make 3 little loaf cats. I think I posted that on my Instagram, and then it was funny because I didn't realize that my hiatus, the last thing I had posted was a black loaf cat, same as my post recently. So I guess I do like making those little loaf cats. We find that those sell really, really well at markets. So if you are a market seller, a loaf cat is your way to go. Okay. I also have been working or listening to my audiobooks as well, which has been a lot of fun. And then creating the granny squares for. I am a little bit behind on that. Things got a little busy, and then I haven't had time to make the next video or the next granny square, but I have been reading. Okay, so we've reached the end of the 4 rounds. So now we're going to need to start shaping the bottom part of the head. So we're going to start to decrease at this point. I want to get from 24 down to 18. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So this is 1 single crochet. Two single crochet and then a decrease. Now a decrease, and I wish my bright lights weren't so terrible here, but a decrease is going through the front loop of the next 2 stitches and then bringing them together. So I'm going to go through the front loop here, 1, front loop here, 2, yarn over, and pull through both of those loops, and yarn over and pull through. So that's our decrease. We're going to keep doing that. So 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. Yeah, so I have been making, I've made the 3 loaf cats. I'm lost track. I go back. And again, when you lose track, there is a way to see what you've done. But because this is terrible lighting and I'm working with white, it's a little hard to see. So I'm just going to do my counting, and then I can kind of look on the back here. So I have my 1, 2, and then I have my decrease. My 1, 2, and then I have my decrease. And I think that's as far as I got. 2. Okay, I got to 3. Right. So here we go. 1, 2, trying to talk and decrease count at the same time, and it's not working out. 1, 2, 1, and last one, decrease. Okay, so our head is taking shape a lot more, and I'm going to want to put in my eyes at this point. All right, what I'm looking for is row 5, between row 5 and 6. So we've got 1, 2, 3, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be in this row here. And I want them about 5 stitches apart. 1, 2. And I think that is way too spaced out. So let's try there. It's hard when you don't have all the extra pieces in to see where they belong, but I think that's a good spot for it. I have my eye helper from 3am Grace Designs. I love this thing so much. It's so helpful. Plop in the back, snap in. Eyeball didn't go in, but yeah, it's oops, nice and snapped in. All right, we're going to get down to 12 stitches next by doing a single crochet and then a decrease. So 1 single, and a decrease. Single, so we're going to be stuffing after this round here. There's some tricks to stuffing up somewhere. Let me count because I'm at a decrease only and I should be at a single crochet. So let me count. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So I must have did a single increase twice somewhere out there. So I'm going to just decrease to get to my 12th stitch right there. Okay, so we are going to be stuffing, and when we stuff our amigurumi, we want to make sure that we are getting it firm but not overstuffed. So I like to go in with small amounts first and squish it out towards the outside of the head. I like to make sure when I'm stuffing, I'm starting with the eye spots. So I'm kind of making sure that eye wall is filled out. So go ahead and finish that. And notice I'm pushing my stuffing out to the sides and then stuffing in the middle. And I tear it apart, push it to the sides again, and then stuff in the middle. And shape it into that what you like. And if it's feeling a little too squishy, you can add a little bit more. If you're starting to see the stuffing bulge out, then you need to take some out because you've added too much, or your stitches are too loose, and that's okay. My very first set of crochet plushies were very loose, so I can definitely see the stuffing coming out of those. All right, next we are going to start the body of our mercat here, and in order to do that, we're going to start to flare out. So in order to flare out, we're going to be working in the front loops, and we're going to be increasing. So I'm going to start over here and front loop only. So I'm only grabbing that first loop and doing a single crochet, stitch marker in, and then same stitch, front loop only, increase. And we're going to do that around. So front loop and same one, front loop. So we've got 2 increase there. It's going to increase around, and you can kind of start to see it flaring out there. I designed it this way because sometimes sewing on a head can just be annoying. So sometimes you have to sew the head on because it just structurally looks better. But for this little Merkitty, it works just fine. I do this for my axolotl, and there's one other thing that I did it for in my patterns because I am not the biggest fan of sewing. I don't mind it. It is not my favorite part of plushie making. It's kind of like weaving in ends when you're working with like a granny square or like massive color changes in a blanket. Just necessary evil. So now it's kind of like this little ice cream scoop ghosty thing. And we're going to keep going to get that body. So we're going to do 4 rounds again with just single crochet around. Going around. I've been trying to get as much crammed in this summer as possible, as I am a teacher by day. I go back next week. Probably by the time this is released, I'll already have been back. But as I'm filming this, I am getting ready to go back. So I'm kind of working on all the little things that aren't really like super necessary, but just make things a lot easier and smoother, as well as nicer to look at. So yesterday I spent a long time working on my little designs for my classroom Canvas course. Basically like an online classroom where I kind of post information for the kids, as well as like where they turn in their assignments. And so I had some fun designing that this week. Okay, so that's row 1, our first row down. Now we got 3 more to go. I love this pattern because it's pretty simple to make. There's only a few bits of sewing, so like the arms, the bottom of the fins, and the ears. But it ends up being just a unique make, especially if you're doing markets, because not one that you generally see. Like everyone has bees and everyone has chickens and octopus, like all the regulars are always there. So it's nice to have just something a little bit more unique. My mom and I have been making some fake labubus, so some lafufus to sell at our market, and hopefully those will be well received. I think that's the end of the second row. So now I got 2 more to go. This is our upcoming market, is one of our bigger ones that we do. It's a 3-day festival in the city. Unfortunately, last year and this year, it falls on the first Friday of the school year. So I am just going to be so exhausted afterwards, because it is 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the first week of school, which is bonkers that I would even agree to do this, but it is our best market of the year, so it is worth it in the end, and it's something fun for my mom and I to do together. And if you follow me over on Instagram, I'll have all those days and locations posted. So if you are interested in and you're in the area, you can come out and see some of our goodies. Okay. 3, and we've got 1 more. So after this row, we are going to be moving on to the tail. Okay. Okay, we've reached the end of our body. And you can start to see shape there. Looking good. All right, so we are switching now to our tail color. And I do want to show, hopefully it shows on the screen, but I do want to show, because you're working with yarn and crochet and we're not doing like a perfect seamless color change. You are still hooking into the row before. I do want you to be aware you are going to see a little bit of your body color in your tail ruffle. It is just what it is. And if you were to lift up your tail ruffle, again, you're going to see that color change. It's just inevitable because you are hooking into the the previous row. So just be okay with it. All right, so we're going to be working on basically the ice cream cone shape, and then the fins are created separately. Okay, so we're going to do a color change here. And we're going to be doing a color change into the back loops of the body. So remember when we flared out, we did the front loops. So now we're going to be working in the back loops. And the reason is our little ruffle here is going to be going into those front loops. So we're going to be working into the back loops for this color change. And now for a color change, there's a few different ways. You can definitely fasten off and then go start again with the new color. I want to make it easy on myself, so I am going to take my last loop here. I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to go through loops, and then I'm going to grab my new color. I'm going to yarn over and pull through those two loops, and then I'm going to pull out. I'm going to snip. And then pull that guy out, and then it'll be tucked back behind there. And I'm going to then tie white tail to my sage green tail here. Give it a double knot so it stays secure. Alrighty, so now we are on to our back loops only. Back loop, single crochet into the back loop. Now I don't need a stitch marker for this row because you can clearly see where your first stitch is. So I'm going to leave that off and head around. So single crochet 24 into the back loops. And so if you start to see, you can kind of start to see that there's this shelf here when you're working in the back loops. So we're going to be crocheting into the front loops when it's time to work on our ruffle. All right. Now I am crocheting these in real time, and I'm going to leave them in real time for you. So just kind of, if I'm not talking, I'll put on some music behind them. But I just want you to see how long it takes me to do it. Know that I've been doing this for a little while. So if you are just starting out with crochet, it might take you a little longer. So definitely feel free to pause the video if I'm going too fast. And then for those of you who are seasoned crocheters, you can always skip ahead. I'll have all the video bookmarks down below. All right, this next row is just 24 single crochet. And this one is just a regular crochet, so no front loop or back loop. You're going through both loops. Round. All right. So we're starting to thin out, lean out here. We're going to go into our tail and we're going to start to create that shape. So in order to do that, we need to decrease. So we're going to do 2 single crochet and then a decrease. So it is 1, my stitch marker down, 2, and now we're going to do our decrease, which again is front loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so that's our first decrease. We're going to do that again. 2 single, 1, 2, and a decrease. And 1, and a decrease. Right, and our last decrease here. What you're gonna start to see is it's gonna start to shrink the opening. So at some point you're gonna want to stuff it with some more stuffing just as you go, just because it's gonna get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then it will be too hard to stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and stuff right now. I'm gonna make sure that I'm trying to keep my neck from ballooning out. So I'm kind of trying my best to keep that neck in its shape. Now, because we're looking for a cone, we don't want to go down again in size. So we're going to do 1 round of 18 stitches here. Just in single crochet. Almost forgot my stitch marker. Not the end of the world if you forget your stitch marker, but you'll have to do some figuring out of where started and stopped. If you don't have an actual stitch marker, I know it's kind of late saying in the game, but you can use just a piece of scrap yarn. You can use a paper clip. Honestly, whatever you have laying around that will hold your place. Yarn got tangled up. This is my least favorite part of crocheting besides sewing. It's the tangles and the knots. Ooh, that wasn't too bad. All right, so single. I have this one just massive amount of yarn just tangled up in this bag that's just so tangled, and it's hard because I want to keep the yarn. It's still really good yarn, but it's such a tangled mess. It's not worth detangling. Start to get a little bit of a curve in this next round, so it's going to be using slip stitches, and I'll show you how to do that when we get there. We're going to be doing 12 single crochets and then 6 slip stitches. Okay. So we do need to count on this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, oops, 9, 10, 11, 12, and we're going to start to get that curve going. So we're doing a slip stitch. Now, if you are a tight crocheter, you might want to size up a little bit on your hook. You want your slip stitches to be somewhat loose because we are going to be crocheting into them on the next round. So keep your slip stitches loose. So a slip stitch is going like you normally would for a single crochet, but instead of yarning over and pulling through, you're just going to keep pulling that yarn all the way through the hook, through the loop. Okay, so we're going to do that again. Through and pull all the way through, keeping it pretty loose because we want to be able to we want to be able to crochet into that space. 1 and our last one. Okay, I'm gonna start to see it's kind of curving just slightly. Okay, again, we've got some more counting to do because this is the tail and we want it to look right. We're gonna want to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease 4 times, and then again we're gonna slip stitch into the last 6 stitches. Okay. Basically, we're slip stitching into the original slip stitches. Tongue twister there. Okay, here we go. So single crochet 1, and then we're going to decrease our first one, single crochet 2, then decrease, single crochet 3, decrease, and single crochet 4, and final decrease. And now we're at our slip stitches again. So we're going to go through and bring it through. Remember to be loose or size up your hook for just the slip stitches. 2, 3, 6. Okay. Next one, we're going to do 8 single crochets and then the 6 slip stitches at the end. Single crochet 8 and then the 6 slip stitches at the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we have our slip stitches again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now our hole is getting a little bit smaller, so we've got to make sure we get in there and stuff it. And now we are going to be doing 4 decreases and 6 slip stitches. So 4 decreases. So we have decrease again is front loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Stitch marker back. Okay, and then so that was 1 decrease. There's 2. There's 3. And 4. And then we have our 6 slip stitches again. 1, 'That may have been too loose. 3, 4, 5. Whoops. 5 and 6. All right. Now we have this nice little curve coming along. We're going to do 10 single crochets in this round. So no more slip stitches. So 1 single crochet. Do 10 all the way, single crochets all the way around. That was 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 8, 9, and 10. Make sure I add a little stuffing in here before I get to my next round. We're almost to the end. We're going to be closing off pretty soon here. Okay, so that was 10 single crochets. Now we're going to do 5 decreases. This is our last round on this part of the tail. Our last round here is going to be 5 decreases. So 1. I'm going to put my stitch marker because even though I'm counting, I want to make sure. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, And last one, 5. Okay, so here I'm going to fasten off. I'm going to do that. I'm with a slip stitch over here. Give yourself enough of a tail to in. And then we're going to use a darning needle, something with a large eye. I just found someone I follow on Instagram. She just posted that she sells these 3D printed needles that are basically open eyes. So there's like an opening side of the eye there. And so you don't actually need to like force it in there. It just kind of like hooks in. So I ordered some of those. I can't wait for them to come because forcing thick yarn into a very small eye is never fun. I've seen so many different like tips and tricks on like the best way to do it. So far, I have not found one that I really like. So I'm really excited to try out this 3D printed design. Okay, and I think I'm going to give up because this needle is just too small for this thread. I don't know where my bigger ones are. So we're just going to do it this way. I'm going to use my crochet hook. So this is if you don't even have a needle, this is the way to do it. So I only work in the front loops of this last row. So I do not go through both loops. I only work in the front loop. So I'm going to grab downwards. Okay. And now I'm going to be going up through the next one. Okay. And then I'm going to go down into this third one. Okay. And up into the fourth one. And down into the last fifth one. I can fit in there. Yeah, I cannot wait for that needle to come in. This isn't working either. I think I'm actually okay without that fifth one. We'll see. So then you're going to just pull it tight. All right, I've got to force myself to get this inside. One of the hacks I saw was to use a paper clip. And this is a round paper clip, so I don't know if it'll actually work. But it was basically using a paper clip, maybe a safety pin. Let's try this and get it through. All right, I went and got bigger needles here. Let's see, bigger eyes. So we'll try this curved one. See which one works best. Got it. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to kind of go through and weave it in a little to make sure that it's secure. I kind of like to loop around one at least and then go through the body to the other side. I don't want to pull it so tight that it like puckers my tail, but just enough so it won't slip out later. Grab my scissors, snip it off, and then tuck in any remaining tail. Okay. So we've got the body of our, oh, it's almost there. So now we're going to start to do the pieces. We've got 2 fins, 2 arms, 2 ears, and the bow, and then the facial details, and then the ruffle, and then we'll be done. But at this point, we've been working for a while. So we want to make sure we take a break, stand up, stretch your fingers, get some water. So I'm gonna take a break. So if I come back and the coloring's the same, then it came back right away. If I come back and the coloring's a little different, it's because I am working again tomorrow. But I can feel my hands are tightening up, so I do need to take a little break, and I recommend you do the same and then come back and finish watching so we can finish that Merkitty. All right, I hope you had a good stretch and a little break. I waited till the morning so that I could have a little bit better lighting. It is still a little blown out because it is the white yarn, but I think we can go with it and continue on. Next up, we're going to be working on the ears, the arms, the fins, and then the little bow. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so let's grab our body color. For the ears, it's really simple. We're just doing 2 rounds each one, and we're creating this little cone-like shape. It's going to start with 3 single crochets in our magic ring. 1, 2, and 3. So this will be the tip of our ear. And now it's kind of tricky because we are only working with 3, so you kind of have to make sure that you're pushing everything together. So now we're going to go into our 3 and we're going to just increase. So we'll end up with 6 single crochets at the end here. 1, 2, find spot. 1, 2. Okay. And then into our next spot, 3, 4, and the next spot, 5, 6. And then you're just going to, for this, I like to slip stitch back into that first one and then fasten off. I'm going to leave somewhat long tail for sewing. I do like to sew with an acrylic yarn most of the time, but sometimes if it won't break, I'll use the plush yarn. Okay, so there's our first little triangle ear. And now let's do it again. Again, it is the 3 single crochets into the magic ring. 1, 2, 3. Up. And then increase into those 3. Is 1, 2. Into the next one. 3, 4, and into the last one, 5, 6. Slip stitch into that first one, and then fasten off. Okay, now we have our 2 little ears. I'm going to put those off to the side because we're going to do our sewing later once all the pieces are completed. The nice thing about the ears having that yarn in the beginning for the tail is you don't really need to stuff these because the yarn itself does the stuffing. stuff. All right, let's do our arms. We're gonna make 2 arms, again with the body color. This time we're gonna do 6 single crochets into the magic ring, and then we're gonna be working for 3 rounds, just single crochet around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Now again, if you're working with like a parfait chunky instead, or something that's going to snap easier, I would pull your magic ring a little bit sooner, probably at like a 3 single crochets, and then that way nothing snaps or frays. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my 6 got a little bit tucked away. Force my way in there. Okay, so now we are simply just going to do 3 rounds of 6. 3, 4, 6. Since I'm just doing 3 rounds, I don't really need to do my stitch marker because I'm just going to count up to 18. So that was a 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we have 1 more row. Stuff my tail into the center there. So 1 more row. 6, 1, 2, 4, and 6. Okay, so now my first arm is done. I'm going to fasten off over here, fasten off, and do my second arm. Again, it is a 6 single crochet into your magic ring, and then 3 rounds of single crochet. Two, 3, and like I said before, if I were working with Parfait Chunky, I would probably start to pull my magic circle at this point. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and we're just single crocheting around. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, going, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm gonna tuck in my tail so it stops getting in my way. 12, 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Do slip knot or slip stitch and fasten off. Okay. Moving here, we've got our 2 arms and our 2 ears. Now we need our 2 fins. So we're going to go back to our fin, our tail color. With our tails, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a big round circle, creating a circle, and then we're going to fold it in half and crochet those together to create this half circle. To create our fins, we're going to be basically creating a round circle. And then we're going to fold it in half and crochet along them both sides together, so it kind of creates this little fin shape. So get into that. We're going to be starting with 6 single crochets into our magic circle. And we're going to be increasing all the way up to 18. That's only 3 rounds, which is not too bad. It goes pretty quickly. Okay, so let's go 6. Have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Okay, let's close this magic circle up. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here. So we are going to increase up to 12. So that's 2 single crochets in each one. 1, 2, and I am going to stitch marker here. 4, increasing. If you're making a sea turtle, this is the same technique you would use to make the fins of a sea turtle. Just a circle folded in half. Simple. Okay, so we've gotten our first round done, and we are looking at our second row getting to 18. So in order to do that, we need to do a single crochet and then an increase all the way around. You've noticed we work in multiples of 3, multiples of 6 really, but so what I'm doing is I want to get from 12 to 18, so I'm basically creating 3 stitches. So I have 1 there, and then I have 2 in my next round here. 2. So I just created 3 stitches, and we're doing that 6 times around, so then that gets us to 18 stitches. I really like this pattern because it is pretty quick to make. It's not going to take you multiple days or hours on end. Everything's not too small. I know sometimes I buy patterns and it's like you have to do 48 rounds or 48 stitches, which is a lot. And then when you have to build out or up, or it just is a lot. So I like keeping the patterns that I write, I like keeping them somewhat smallish to medium size so that they whip up pretty quickly. All right, so here is our next part. Now I'm noticing it, but I have this little bump from my magic circle, and sometimes it really bothers me that it poofs out like that. So what I do a lot of times is I will turn it over and I will find that poof and I will tuck it back. And I bring it to the back, and then you have your original tail. So I'll just kind of string my yarn through that tail and lock it in place. I don't know, I don't like when it poofs out like that. So then you can see now it's all straightened together and nobody sees the back. All right, so here we go to make our fin. What you're going to be doing is you are now going to fold, circle in half, and now we're going to work across the half circle by single crocheting these two sides together. So I start over here. My piece is folded in half. I'm going to go through the next single crochet and I'm going to go across as best I can. And I am not perfect at this. So sometimes I skip a stitch, sometimes I don't, but it all works out in the end. So I'm going through my next single crochet and across the fin there. Okay, I bring it up, yarn over. Okay. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going through one side into the other side, and we are single crocheting those together. So again, through one side, out the other, together. And we'll just do that until we get to the end. And then my last one. There we go. All right, so at this point, I'm going to chain one and fasten off here. Give myself some sewing tail. And we're going to do that one more time and then moving along. So second tail, second fin, we're going to do the same thing. So 6 single crochet, 1, 2, 4, 5. And for the second round, we are increasing up to 12. 1, 2, marker in, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 11. Okay. And then we're on to our last round here, which will get up to 18. So that's 1 single crochet, 1 increase, 1 single crochet, or increase. So I've done this Mercat with both Bernat Blanket and with Parfait Chunky. I personally find the Bernat Blanket to be just a little cuter for this particular pattern. There are times where I love Parfait Chunky, and there are certain patterns that just look way better in Parfait Chunky, but for this one, I really do find that the Bernat Blanket or the Bernat Baby Blanket is just way better for the final product of this one. All right, so there is our circle, and we are going to again fold it in half. Tuck the tail in the center. Go into the next single crochet, and we're going to poke across, folding in half, creating that single crochet. Same thing, going through both sides, crocheting them together. And then I'm going to chain 1 and fasten off. Okay, and there we have all our extra pieces, minus the bow. We're going to do that later. All my extra little pieces are ready to go, and we're going to start sewing onto the body. Before I start sewing on the pieces, I am going to add in the ruffle. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find where that jog is. That's going to be my starting point. And I can kind of see where the front loop of that white layer is, because you can kind of, I don't know if you can it in the video, but there is like a little line separation. So if you look at your piece, since we worked in the back loops, the front loops is still out there. And just a quick reminder, as I said earlier, you are going to notice that there is going to be a little bit of a white because we're working with yarn and it's not going to be perfect. So you will see that, and that is absolutely normal. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to take my hook. I'm going to go through that front loop from the bottom straight up. I'm going to create a slip knot with my tail color here. And I'm going to pull my slip knot through. And then I'm going to chain 1. And now, so I don't have to weave in later, I am going to try to keep my tail along with me. You can also tuck the tail into the body. I'm just going to carry it along with me for a little bit before I tuck it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the next one, and I'm going to increase. I'm going to do 2 in that first one there. Okay. Now in the next stitch, I'm going to just do a slip stitch. So pull through, and we have our slip stitch. And I'm going to repeat that around where I do an increase and then a slip stitch. next one. And that'll create that ruffle. The next one is an increase. Slip stitch. And then I see I have this extra little tail, so I think before I move on, I'm gonna just tuck that into the body right there, hidden away. Okay, so that was my slip stitch, and now we're going to increase. And the slip stitch. Now, if you do notice that carrying that tail across, it kind of minimized a little bit of the white. So if you wanted to create a tail that would go all the way around, you could definitely do that. Flip. Crease. Now, if you wanted a bigger ruffle, something a little bit more intricate, you could even do half double crochets or add 3 into each stitch instead of just 2. So close to the end here. And remember, if you need to take a break because your hands are getting tired, remember to always do that. Take care of your body when you're crocheting. Okay. Now I've reached my final spot here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch into that first ruffle, bring them together, and fasten off. And this one I am going to have to tuck in. I'm gonna go through the top, even try to cover up some of those white spots if you wanted to. And I'm just gonna stick it through the body, the other end, and tuck that back in. Okay. Ruffle. When you're sewing your amigurumi pieces, you want to have some way of holding it in place. When I first started, I was trying to sew things while holding it together, and it was just a little bit harder. So things you can use if you have like little nail orange sticks, those will work. I like to use knitting needles, and I put beads at the top of them. And they do sell these on Etsy. I've seen a bunch of people sell these, but it's really just a knitting needle with something that stops it at the top. So go in, I'm gonna find where I like placement of my arm, and then I just basically stick it in so that it stays where I want it to. And I'll do that for other arm as well. Here's, I think I'm going to place my arms, I'm going to sew my arms in before I go in with the ear. So, because I'm working with Bernat Blanket and it doesn't snap as much as some of the other plush yarns do, I'm going to go ahead and sew in with just my extra. Normally, if I was working with something that could fray or could snap, I would go in with an acrylic or a cotton yarn that matches the color. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to go through and I'm going to sew my piece together. I like to go, you know, up and then down and then back through and up again. I have not mastered sewing of amigurumi in a way that's speedy and fast and easy. There is someone that I follow. I took a class from her about pattern making, and she does have a thing on there on sewing your amigurumi pieces. So that's been on my to-do list of watching and really perfecting sewing on amigurumi pieces, because some of the more interesting patterns definitely have a lot of sewing involved. You have a lot more pieces. And then what I'll do is I will, at the end, kind of tuck in one more time, but this time I'm going to leave loop so that I can go back into it, create kind of a little knot at the very end there. Yeah. Yep. Right. Okay, so then after I do that little knot, I'm gonna just tuck it back in, go out the other side. Either I'll snip it off or I'll shove it back in the back of my needle. Okay, now we have other arm, and I think I made it a little too far over. I'm gonna put it right there. Right. Go in and sew this one. And again, you can see why having it stuck in there is so helpful, because otherwise it would be moving all around on me and I wouldn't be able to fully sew it without getting frustrated. So. And this last one, I'm just going to create this loop and create a knot, secure on there, and tuck it in and head across the body. back inside. Now we have her arms attached. Now we're going to go into those ears. So same thing, kind of find where you like the placement. Grab something that is long enough to hold it in place. The other nice thing about the sticks is you can have them in place and then you can decide if you like it in that position or not. So especially with ears, you want to make sure that you like where the ears are placed. So I like this one, but I don't like this one. I think it's because it's the shape of the triangle isn't triangle-y. So, nope. Right there. Oh, I don't know. I want it more to the side. Yep. A little. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with this placement. Now, normally I prefer a like aluminum or a metal needle when sewing, but I was struggling to get my eye threaded last time, so I'm just sticking with this plastic one for now. Just like I did with the arms, create that loop to make a knot. I'll tuck this to the body. That ear a little bit wonky, my taste, but I think it'll be okay. In of it. Okay, good enough. That's the thing with handmade gifts. You have to let go of those perfection tendencies because you're working with yarn and it's completely handmade. So never going to come out exactly how you want it. You just got to roll with it. And I think people will love it no matter what. And I know as the creator, we always see the little imperfections when we finish it, but nobody else notices them. Just us notice. So remember that if you're making this for someone else, they will not even know that you messed up or you missed a row or you know, sewed it funny, sewed it in the wrong spot. Nobody will know. And again, I'm going to go in knot. And hide that into the body. Okay, go. We have arms, ears, and now let's put those fins on. Now these are a little bit trickier when assembling. I like to stay in place. But what you do want to do is have the arch, the part where you crocheted together, on the outside. And then you kind of decide, do I want them hanging off the bottom? Do I want them kind of off to the side? I like going off to the side just because it gives them more secure when I sew them. It's more secure when I sew them together. But I know some people like to hang them off to the side and flop around. But we're going to put them here. For this one, I'm going to go from the bottom. Hold it there. Okay, that's a good spot. And start sewing. And for me, like I said, I'm not super meticulous about my sewing. I just want to make sure that it's not going to fall off if someone is playing with it, giving it lots of love. Go in and out as many places I can. Make sure it is nice and secure. That one's fallen off. I'll add that one back later. Okay, and so for the final one here, have a little loop that through. Tie it tight. Go. Body. And tuck it back in. Now, if you are giving these as a gift or you're keeping them for them yourselves or you're selling them, they are washable in the washing machine if you take care. So I often tell people, you can put it in, but make sure it's either in a pillowcase or it's in one of those garment bags. And then because it's getting agitated, a lot of these tails that we're tucking in are going to pop out. So you just tell them if a tail pops out, just poke it back in with a chopstick or something with the back of a needle. That way, good to go. That way they don't freak out and think that they ruined it. And it just needs to be tucked back in. This fin, just because of where I placed it, I am kind of going front and so from front to the back. All Adrian Barnes. What do they have? No, I think I'll pass. Okay, so I'm just continuing to go back and forth, peering on there. Put this off and see where we're at. Okay. One more. Okay, so let's go in, get our little final tail through the loop, leading our knot. And then we'll head through the body. Out the other side. And tuck it back in. Okay, so we've gotten all of our main body pieces ready to go. We're ready for our now we're ready for our facial details. Okay, so for this we're gonna need a lighter peachy color, as well as a black acrylic or cotton for the whiskers and eyelashes. Okay, so as I said before, I'm using the Joann's Big Twist Plush, or I think it's Baby Bear. So this was what I had lying around, but use what you have. Snip off a nice amount. I think I snipped off way too much, but it is fine. For this one, I'm going to start from behind the head to the front, and I want to make sure that I like the placement. So in this one, it's about 3 stitches between the eyes here. I'm gonna come out right here. And then I'm going through and I'm keeping a tail at the back where I went in. Okay, and then let's go about there. And now I'm gonna just do, yeah, I definitely cut my yarn too long. That's okay. I'm gonna go maybe, I want to have a little piece here. So I'm gonna start with 2. Out and then back over, and then I'm going to go down below, create that little line that goes down, and then I'm going to go up but in between there, and then I'll probably come out again and go over one more time. Too low. Feels too low. All right, I'm gonna redo. Feels too low. Also, I'm probably going to snip it smaller because it's just too long. A little too low, a little too long. So, here. Do I want it here? I think I want it there. Okay. I'm actually, instead of going from the back, because I snipped it a little too short this time, I'm going to go from the front here. I'm going to come out right here. Leave a little tail. Go over to here. And here. And then this time, I'm going to go to the middle. Down here. Okay. And back over here. This side. Oh, okay. And then I'll probably do this one more time. So I'll have 3 strands of. Oh, I like that much better. Yep. Probably would have liked to have the eyes just slightly up, but you can't really do much about where your holes are for your eyes. So it just kind of where your stitches land based off of your tension. Okay, so at this point I am going to go in. I am going to tie a knot on my 2 tails. So remember, I went in and out from the exact same spot. I'm going to tie knot. And then I'll snip those a little bit shorter and stuff it in. Okay. Our nose. So now I'm going to go get my black acrylic so I can do the whiskers and the eyelashes. Okay, we're going to do something very similar with black acrylic. Going to cut yarn, thread it into the needle, go from spot in the head. I'm gonna go above, I think, and then we need to kind of plan out where we want these. So very similar to last time, deciding where you want whiskers and everything else. Okay, I think that's a good starting place for my whisker. Again, depending on how loose your tension is, where your A holes will line up. Wider. I'm gonna kind of go at a little angle, but I'm not gonna go straight. I'm gonna go down one just so it goes to a little angle. I'm gonna come out high. I'm gonna give her some eyelashes. Now the one problem with the acrylic yarn is it is like, I don't know, fluffy sort of. It does have like extra fuzzies. So if you don't like that, go for more of a thin like cotton. I just didn't want to go downstairs to get mine. So we went with this one. I do 2 eyelash. side. The eyelashes you get as the eyes as possible. And I went out that same hole that I started with. Eyebrows, but I might try do this extra cat eye. Okay, I like that. Cross the eye a little bit. Sometimes what I'll do too is after I'm done, I'll go in with a little bit of fabric and glue these pieces in place so that they don't shift later. Especially around the eye. Shift a little bit. Tie a knot. Tuck that in the head. Now, of course, you don't need to do eyelashes. It's just personal preference. I like them, but I don't always do. All right. Our Merkitty. Now, we're going to move on to the bow. Again, if you don't want a bow, you do not need to make one. So we're going to go ahead and make that bow next. The bow is really simple. We are just going to chain 24 and then tie it into a bow and sew it on. It's super simple. So I start with a slip knot and then we're going to chain 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, 18, 20, 1, 4, and then I think I use the ends when I'm sewing it. Make sure that my bow has those ends. Smaller bow. When I was getting married, my seamstress showed me how to tie a bow so that it would lay like perfectly every time, and I have forgotten since then, and I wish I could remember. I'm sure there's like a ton of YouTube videos out there on how to do it, but it's been on my list for a while, but this one didn't turn out too bad. Not too bad. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to find our bow to be, and I think I'm actually gonna put my bow on the other side today because I don't like this ear. So to cover that up, I'm gonna put the bow there. So for this one, I definitely like, you can see, I definitely tucked the bow bottoms into that, but I'm kind of liking the wraparound for this one. Bend it and make it a headband. That's super cute. I think I'm gonna leave it as a headband. I like that. Either way, you're gonna just sew it on. So you can choose to sew it on this way. So what I did was before I took my needle and I tucked in the edges and then stuck it there. I'm just gonna do that. I like the headband idea, but I think I needed to chain a little bit more for it. In over here, find a spot, tuck it out the other side just for now. Do the same thing on this side. Out there. Just okay. So since you did go in, or I went into 2 different holes, I could just tie it off and call it a day. You could go back and stitch it one more time in the center just to secure it. So that's totally up to you. So I think I'm just gonna call it a day. And tie a big knot twice. I hope I went out the same hole. And then tuck it back in. Could even cut it a little bit smaller. Tuck those in. Sometimes if you can't tuck it in like that, you grab your crochet hook and you pull it in. Okay. There she is. All ready for my next market. She is ready to have a splash. I'm gonna go in and clean up some of these fuzzies. I don't love how messy the acrylic is. Clean up some of those stragglers. Okay. Love it. So cute. Well, I hope you had fun making your Merkitty with me. If you want the PDF pattern, it is over on my Etsy store or on my website. You can purchase. Or you can come back to this video and watch it again. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can follow along with more crochet tutorials that I have coming your way. And be sure to check out some of the videos that I already have of my other patterns up here on YouTube as well. Thanks so much for watching and happy crocheting.